I never thought my life would spiral into such chaos, but one decision, one careless moment, changed everything. It all started the night my husband insisted his nephew stay with us for the weekend. "He's family," my husband said. "What's the harm?" If only he knew what that weekend would bring. Or maybe he did. My nephew by marriage, let's call him Ethan, had always been polite, almost shy. But there was something about him that night that felt different. He carried himself with a confidence I hadn't noticed before. As he stepped into our house, his piercing gaze lingered just a little too long, his smile just a bit too knowing. My husband didn't seem to notice. He was busy preparing for his early morning flight the next day. He trusted Ethan completely. That trust, as I would come to learn, was a mistake. The evening began innocently enough. We had dinner, exchanged stories, and laughed about family memories. But as the hours ticked by and my husband excused himself to sleep, the atmosphere between Ethan and me shifted. It started with subtle comments. "You look stunning tonight," he said, his voice low and deliberate. I laughed it off, attributing it to his youth and perhaps a bit of wine. But his eyes told a different story. A story that sent a shiver down my spine and ignited something I wasn't ready to admit. After my husband went to bed, Ethan lingered in the living room. "Do you want to watch a movie?" he asked, his tone casual but his eyes anything but. I hesitated. My better judgment screamed at me to decline, to retreat to the safety of my bedroom. But there was a part of me, a reckless, curious part, that said yes. And that yes would unravel everything. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the movie playing unnoticed in the background. At first, our conversation was light, almost playful. But then he leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Do you ever feel like you're not truly seen?" The question caught me off guard. It was as if he had reached into the deepest corners of my mind and pulled out a thought I'd never dared to voice. I tried to laugh it off, to deflect, but he didn't let me. "You're incredible," he said. "I don't understand how anyone could overlook that." His words were dangerous, intoxicating. They filled a void I hadn't even realized was there. I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed. The tension in the room was palpable, and I felt it growing with every passing moment. Ethan's confidence was disarming, his charm magnetic. He had a way of making me feel seen, heard, desired in a way I hadn't felt in years. It was wrong, I knew that. But the pull was undeniable. At one point, he reached out, his hand brushing against mine. It was a simple gesture, but it sent shockwaves through me. I pulled back, my mind racing. "This is inappropriate," I said, my voice trembling. "You're my nephew." He smiled, a slow, knowing smile that made my heart pound. "Only by marriage," he said. His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. I stood up, desperate to put distance between us. "I think it's time for bed," I said, trying to sound firm. "Good night, then," he replied, his eyes never leaving mine. I fled to my bedroom, my mind a whirlwind of guilt and confusion. My husband lay sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the storm brewing just outside his door. But the night wasn't over. As I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the memory of Ethan's gaze, the way his words had made me feel. I hated myself for it, but a part of me craved more. And as if he could sense my turmoil, there was a soft knock on the bedroom door.